All right, welcome to the Pitch Stack, episode 8. I am Douglas DeYoung, joined as always by my good friend, Matt Rodriguez. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing all right. And this is going to be the last episode we do before the Pro Tour, which I am extremely excited about.
I was about to ask, what? Our last episode, what happened?
Our last episode ever. We've been canceled. We lost funding. We'll have to finish it in fanfic. That'll be our end. This is going to be the last one before the Pro Tour. And I remember back in 2014, 2015, like every other Saturday, once a month, I would just wake up and I would put on the Star City Games or Channel Fireball, Magic Pro Tours, Grand Prix, and weekend events. And the coverage was so awesome and it was so much fun to watch. And that's dead now. And I haven't been this excited for an event in a really long time. And I can't wait to just wake up on Friday, turn on the coverage, and watch the Pro Tour.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. And next week, hopefully, we can time our recording right and we'll know the results. I don't know. We'll see. We may have to delay it, maybe a day, but I think it'd be nice to be able to record right after we know how the whole tournament ended, especially with the calling and Battle Hardened and Pro Tour on the line out there.
Yeah, it's like we're on hour 7 of the Remembrance Life Gain Starvo build that is now in the mirror match for the finals.
Oh, God. Remembrance. Right. That'd be wild, man.
Yeah, right. So we'll get there. But huge shout out to some of our friends that are going to be in the Pro Tour, to Mr. John Owens, Mr. Will Laystrom, an honorary local, Sean Biava, as well as our friend Hasiel Diaz, the luckiest man on earth, winner of the Arsenal Pass weekend getaway sweepstakes. So hopefully one of y'all be on coverage so I don't have to become a fan of somebody I've never heard of before.
We have to cheer you guys on.
Absolutely. Well, what do you say we finish our housekeeping here and we open up the mail? We got a couple viewer questions today.
Oh, mail time.
Mail time, right? And it's usually just coupons. All right, so our first question, and this is relevant to the Pro Tour, comes from Mr. John Owens. And he's asking, once the Pro Tour is over, obviously, I think everybody's just at a point where no matter what happens, we're all convinced Starvo will get LL somehow. What do you think the new meta is going to look like?
Well, it kind of depends. I mean, if Starvo doesn't win Pro Tour, it looks like we're going to have to see a lot more Starvo moving forward into Proquest season too. Yeah. I have a feeling
and it's over.
Right. I don't know. I have a feeling we may it's not the last we'll see of Starvo, to be honest. I have a feeling that Prism, as we've definitely discussed over and over, is one of the, if not the strongest hero in the game at this very moment. And Shane with one of the highest ceilings in the game to really have a shot at not cracking this meta. He's always been very strong, but have a shot at taking home those living legend points instead of either of the other two, which is kind of odd that Shane kind of hung in the background of Proquest season, the first Proquest season. And then now after that, he's, not that he has never played or never topped, but he's kind of making his emergence as this big baddie who's going to take over, Yeah,
absolutely. And it's really interesting to me, right? Because Chain is, in my opinion, the only deck in the meta right now that can consistently beat Starvo and Prism. Not necessarily that those matchups are extremely favorable either way, but it's not like Chain really doesn't have any auto losses right now in the current meta. And maybe that's why he's so good. Obviously, Chain going into a traditional Guardian isn't great because the exhaustion game is very easy. But with Prism absolutely shutting down the ability to play traditional Guardian right now, It looks like the path is like nice and clear for Chain. So I don't know. I think if Starvo disappears, though, I think Prism drops out of the meta a little bit, because Prism's ability to prey on any of the 3 Guardian decks is kind of what keeps Prism in the meta. And I mean, without like a premier Guardian deck happening, like she's going to keep the other 2 out of the meta. Like, don't even play them for any reason. So I don't know. Maybe we're back to a weird Runeblade meta with Chain Briar again, where just, wide decks that are hard to deal with are the way to go.
Briar for sure will come back, especially to keep it Prism, out of control. But I think Prism still is like, she really holds the throne right now, I think, in terms of like one of the heroes with the highest win percentage against a lot of different heroes. Maybe she didn't perform great against Starvo, and if Starvo takes it, I think we may see a lot more aggro come out of the bushes. But at the same time, Prism is also capable of taking those decks head first and winning. So it's I don't know, it's tough. I definitely feel more comfortable playing against Prism with an aggressive deck than I do with a controller deck like Bravo. One attack a turn.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Prism's just going to overwhelm you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think the meta shifts away from Prism, because Starvo is keeping all the decks that beat Prism out. And Prism's the only deck that can really beat Starvo at a 50-50 win rate. I mean, Chain's getting there, but it's not quite as great as you would hope. And so, yeah, I don't know what this meta is going to look like, but I'd imagine it clears the way for a lot more aggro decks to show up.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think we may see Katsu come back out. I'm not really familiar with Ninja in terms of its play into Prism, but
it's pretty good against Prism.
Okay, well then I
with 3 attacks, then pop an aura.
Yeah, then I feel like they'll probably come back into the meta. That'd be great. Katsu's kind of been left out on the side.
Yeah. All right. So our next question, and this one's pretty interesting, and it can get a little in depth if we let it. But Angel is asking, how do we rank the classes in general? And so the way I did this was I just ranked the classes. I ignored talents for this.
Yes. Yes.
And so I was just trying to rank all 9 classes. And this ended up being a little bit more difficult than I thought it would be.
So you're talking about Ranger, Runeblade, Wizard, Brute, Guardian, Ninja, Warrior, Merchant, and Illusionist, right?
Well, I ignored
Mechanologist is a talent.
Much like everybody, I ignored Merchant.
But Mechanologist is a talent, though. I'm just kidding.
All right. The talent truthers, they're out there. Well, so in that case, Merchant's at 10.
Yeah. Easy. What about Shapeshifter?
Oh, yeah. Shapeshifter is probably unviable, the current CC meta. It's only young Shapeshifter. I don't know. So, like, obviously the top 3, I would say 1 Guardian, 2 Runeblade, and then 3 is probably Illusionist. And then from there, I kind of have a difficult time. Like, I would say maybe 4 is Mechanologist, 5 Brute.
Interesting. I think 4 is like 4 is maybe damn, it's hard for now. Now I was gonna make a statement, but now I don't know.
Right?
It's very hard to commit to it, but I feel like my answer might be something along the lines of Brute. 4 is Brute. I'm debating between Brute and Warrior.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's weird too, because once you get past the first 3, I feel like and especially when we're ignoring talent, it's kind of like a tie between Mechanologist, Brute, Ranger, Wizard, Warrior, and Ninja, because like any given day, one of those decks can show up as a rogue deck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, if we're ranking heroes, there's incredibly weak heroes, but like within Ranger, like Lexi's not bad at all.
Yeah, if we're doing heroes, this becomes a much easier conversation. No, we're just doing classes, overall classes. Like if we include their entire card pool and the abilities and equipments, then I agree. That's definitely going to be the same order: Guardian, Runeblade, and Illusionist. But then, I think my top 8.
Then it becomes arbitrary.
Yeah, my top 9 is going to be 4 is Brute.
Just go with your heart.
5 is Mechanologist. 5 is Mechanologist. 6 is Ninja. Dang, yeah. I don't feel like putting Warrior or Kano that low, or Ranger either. I mean, Ranger probably has to be the bottom, sadly. But maybe I'm ranking Brute a little too high.
Yeah, right? Because Levy is that bad, just like Azalea.
Yeah. The first 3 stay the same. 4 is probably Mechanologist. This is my final answer. 4 is Mechanologist. 5 is Ninja. 6 is Warrior. 7 is Wizard. 8 is or 9 is. Did I skip one? 7 is Brute. 8 is Warrior. 9 is Ranger.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, it's weird because it just kind of like all, there's a class for everybody in that third tier. Once you get off the meta.
I'm still committed to workshopping Azalea to actually win stuff, but we'll see. I've been off of it for a little bit to focus on fixing Viscerai after the ban, and it's been really rough. It's been really sad.
Yeah.
Very a lot of disappointment in both aspects.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I've been putting Viscerai together because it's just a fun deck. I think we'll see if he pops up again in the next meta, but obviously it's going to be a little bit before Runeblade gets more cards. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Maybe we'll have to wait for the next supplemental set.
Yeah, right. In roughly October, I think they said. So we'll see.
Some ways away.
Yeah. Well, with all that said, what do you say we get to the intro and we'll be back with more topics?
Sounds good.
You're listening to the Pitch Stack Podcast.
All right. And we're back. So Matt, here's what I've been doing this week. I've been getting into deck building mode because I am anticipating a meta shift.
Sweet.
And in doing so, I've been organizing my entire fab collection, which started out as an easy task. But then a couple hours into it, I realized I needed to develop a system. So
what's your method? Yeah, what's your method of organizing your cards? Because mine's chaotic as hell.
Right? So here's what I did. Was I took a 3,200 count box and I made a section for every single hero. And I did rares in red, blue, yellow, alphabetical order for each class. And then commons. So at rares, I didn't put a limit on how many went in. And then commons, it was a maximum of 6 per card per color strip.
Okay.
So a maximum of 18 per card set. And I did those in red, yellow, blue, color order for each class alphabetized. And this took significantly longer than I thought it would. And then what I did was I took all my foils for commons and rares and I just put them in an old like magic binder that I didn't have any cards sitting in. So that way, like if I quickly needed like Runeblade foils, okay, that's these 3 pages. Like I'll throw those in my deck or whatever. I did that for all those. And then everything super rare and above goes in my main collection binder. And weirdly enough, it took a while because I just had like cards laying in piles, just like I'm sure like 95% of us do. It took a really long time, but I got there. And now I have a whole library of cards to easily build decks out of. And now every time I buy a pack, it's homework. So,
oh man, that's the problem. Is my the issue with the average trading card game player is that, they buy some cards, they buy a box, they buy some packs, whatever it is. They crack them open. They might pull out the rares to throw in their decks or their binder. And then the extra rares, the extra cards get put in a little stack with the rest of them and put on the table. Right? Like, I'll sort that later. That's usually what you say.
Absolutely.
Right? And then this happens 10 more times. And you've got 10 more several stacks of cards. And then this occurs for an extended period of time. And you just have now mountains of cardboard that you have just hurriedly thrown into boxes because you realize you don't have space to organize or time to organize things. So then you just have, it becomes a huge mess of like unorganized boxes that you have to sift through, and then stacks on tables of mixed cards from sets and tokens and rare foils and like random cards you just didn't sort through. It has Majestics in there sometimes. And it's just like, it's chaos. Absolute chaos. So I respect anyone who sits down and does the homework of when they get home, all their packs get sorted that they opened.
Yeah.
Or whoever opens their boxes and sorts them as they open their packs is like, equivalent to like a Tibetan monk of patience and control.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's what I had to do. And what happens is you end up attaching such a negative stigma to opening packs. It like forces you to buy singles because you're like, now every time I buy a pack, it takes 15 minutes, for me to like get to the slot and everything and put it where it belongs. So you're just like, but I could buy a single, and that saves so much time and money. So you end up like conditioning yourself to not buy packs. And I'm sure that'll happen to me eventually, but not this week because I bought a box of History Pack 1.
Oh, how was that? That just came out.
Yeah. So it was kind of cool. At first I was like, I was looking at my polls and I felt like this is not great. I got the box for 120, which isn't bad at all. Because they are 36 pack boxes, not 24.
Wow.
And I didn't get any of the big money hits, but I did get cards I needed. Like I needed a Dread Triptych. I needed some other stuff. I got the white bordered Dory token, which is something I wanted really bad. I don't know. I got a lot of weird stuff. And then like I see people online, they're averaging 12 Majestics / mega rares per box. And I did hit 12. I got a lot of Azalea staples. That was great.
That was exciting.
I got a red in the ledger, a 3 of a kind. I don't know. It was weird though.
I find this weird. Just a random, not off topic, but it's a little aside. Is that for class that's so underplayed and like apparently not good? Azalea's cards are a little expensive.
Yeah, it's because
odd. It's very odd.
It's because there's Ranger people, right? And it's like every single game they play, Ranger, bow and arrow. It's like World of Warcraft, Ranger, like any Divinity game, ranged class. Like they just go for it. And I think, and everybody knows a couple of people like this, where they're just like constantly picking up Lexi or Azalea staples, and they're like, it's going to be so good in the future. And I feel like that is what's keeping cards like 3 of a kind and like Red. I mean, Red and Ledger's not all that expensive, but like New Horizons, like $180. Like,
yeah, Remorseless is still 20 something, I bet.
Yeah, it's weird. Just like pure popularity alone. Because I mean, you look at like other cards that are objectively good at decks that are slightly better, like Glint the Quicksilver, right? Is a $12 card, and that's like a phenomenal Majestic.
I thought it was less, to be honest.
It might be down to like $8 or $9 now. But like if you look at that and compare it to any of these Ranger staples, it's just weird.
Right. I don't get it.
So yeah, so I have like 3 hours of sorting to do now. So that's long story short. HP1 is cool though. It's interesting to have like the white bordered cards, especially if you've been playing Magic for any like period of time. You come across those white bordered cards. And it's weird to open them from a pack. It's a very strange feeling.
So there's something, though, I just would like to say about History Pack 1. It's kind of disappointed me. in terms of, I guess, LSS's vision for the product and their idea for it in terms of helping newer players. And from what I've seen in streams of people opening it and your experience and John's experience, I do not like that the legendary pull rate is about the same as it's always been.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
If not worse, because it is more packs per box and it's still 4 box per case. So if you're opening a case and you're only getting like 2 legendaries, that is not good. That's like 2 extra boxes. That's 6 boxes, 2 legendaries.
Yeah, I think it's 1 in 80 packs is what I want to say they said the pull rate is for legendaries on this. Which,
I've seen variants, like tons of variants in that department.
Absolutely.
I really wish it was a little better, like 1 and 2, like 1 and 2 boxes, like if not even more, like 1 per box. Like this is a product designed with reprints in mind. We there's no credence to the old product. It's white border. There's no foil. This is just down, dirty, affordable white border cards. And I see no reason to underprint the product as they did, and also not include more legendaries.
That's fair. I mean, what they ended up including 9, right? 1 for each of the 8 first classes plus Tunic.
Well, not more legendaries in terms of like the available legendaries.
I know what you mean. Just in terms of like the hits
pull rate. Yeah, pull rate.
So real quick, let me look at these legendaries that are within it, and everything seems to be right around, if not slightly lower than its black border foil price. Like Grass with the Arknight and white border is 160. Scabskin Leather is 110. Tectonic Plating is at 200, but I'm sure that's just because there's only one listing. Skullbone Cross Wrap, $28. So that's not bad. But I will say, I think legendaries aside, History Pack has accomplished what they set it out to do, because you can go on TCG Player right now as we're recording this on May 8th and get a Command and Conquer for $50. Which is not bad.
That is good. That is good. If the objective was to lower the price of Command and Conquer, by God, they've done it. They did it for
$35 yesterday.
They did it by announcing the product, I think. Shot down $30.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's weird too, because Command and Conquer is not, I mean, it's a very good card. It's just not, it's not entirely a meta card right now. That's also weird.
Yeah. I mean, they should charge a premium though for white border Scabskins.
Yeah. Just I did get a Rhino token. I was pretty excited about that.
Ooh.
So yeah, I don't know. The Dory token in white border looks awesome though. I'm pretty stoked on that. So I don't know. I gotta like go through my polls again, because I opened it inside of my LGS and I set all the Majestics to the side, and I didn't really go through everything to take a look and see how many bucks or the overall value. But I do feel like I didn't come anywhere close to $120. It's just looking at the cards. I think the most expensive card I got was a Tome of Fyendal. And then I got a Dread Triptych and a 3 of a kind. And so if you combine the value of all 3 of those, it's about $30. I think if I go through all my Majestics, I think I pulled about $70 worth of value out of everything, which is not ideal. So we'll see.
Not quite.
We will see. And that said, organize your cards and buy singles. Don't be like me. Don't give yourself homework.
Yeah, buying singles honestly is always the way to go. And I mean, you save a lot of money.
It's fun.
Yeah, I know, but it's sometimes tough though when it's not a big game like Magic, where you can just walk up to your store and they have millions of singles for the game.
Yeah,
you have to kind of search for these flesh and blood deals. Yeah,
and they take forever to get to your house because there's no there's no main place to get fab singles.
Right. I mean, I've gotten them on Facebook before.
Same. Yeah, I actually bought some cold foils off Facebook this week.
What did you get? So
I needed one more set to complete my illusionists. The blue illusionist auras. I needed one more of each to complete my set of 3. So this guy puts them up for a really good price. And I was like, that's nuts. I was like, who's selling these for this low? That's ridiculous. So I messaged the guy, right? And and he wanted $80 for the set of 3, which is really good. At the time of recording this, it might not be in the future, but so I was like, hey, I was like 80 sounds good to me. I was like, will you do goods and services via PayPal? And he's like, I'd prefer F&F for tax status or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's not good. And so I think for a second, I messaged him back, and I was like, okay, I'll eat the GNS if you'll do GNS. And the guy responds. He's like, here, I'm mowing my lawn right now. Let me message you back when I'm done. Now, I think most people would have gotten sketched out at this point. But I say to myself, if you can't trust somebody who mows their own lawn, then who can you trust? So I friends and family the cash over. Cards are at my house in 2 days. So trust people that mow lawns. That's the moral of the story. I don't know. There's something very like, I could hear like Hank Hill's voice in my head. That was like, well, if you can't trust somebody who mows their own lawn, then who can you
should
trust?
have asked him for a picture of the lawn.
Yeah, right.
Proof.
Just to confirm it wasn't a fake lawn. Oh yeah, just by saying this now, I've created a whole new scam of fake lawnmowers.
Damn. Selling really stock images of mown, freshly cut grass.
Yeah, right. That's the key. Is like you can tell it's real if it's like it's the self-assured nod at the lawn. Like if it's people smiling, stock image. It's like, I don't know.
No one's smiling cutting their grass. I promise.
Exactly. So, with that said, History Pack 1 does in fact mark the beginning of Fab 2.0. And obviously, Fab 2.0 amongst investors has been met with a lot of controversy. And so when we talk about investors, you have to talk about the alpha investor, Rudy, and what happened with his Patreon this week and Monarch First Edition boxes is fascinating.
So what exactly happened? Because I am in his Patreon, but I have ignored most of his postings just out of like having no money to spend. So I kind of don't want to be tempted into it.
That's fair.
But also I wasn't one of his initial buyers for the Monarch kit. So I had no way to even purchase it if I wanted to. So I kind of just ignored it. So what exactly happened?
Okay, so originally 1 year ago, if you were part of Rudy's Patreon and you bought a box of first edition Monarch from him when it got released for $999, so just a hair short of $1,000, you got a case of first edition Monarch, the playmat, and a set of cold foil promos. Obviously now, with a box of first edition Monarch being worth closer to $150, we see that was an extremely high ask. And I feel like, and so basically Rudy put out a video saying that when I charge that, I assume the print run would be closer to Crucible of War. Is like, obviously, Card Shop Live Channel Fireball were hoarding boxes of this to slow release, even though they were saying there was super limited supply. They knew what was up. And Rudy was going based off of that data. So what he did was, if you were a member of his Patreon and you bought one of those boxes for $1,000, he had a deal where you could get cases of Monarch this week. A case of Unlimited you could get for $120, or a case of First Edition you could get for $400. And basically, his idea was to sell these at a loss, so that way, if you were a Patreon, you could get fair value. So if you're a Patreon, you end up spending $1,400 on the 2 First Edition cases because you can only get one. So you get 8 boxes at $150 a box. That comes out to about $1,200 plus the playmat selling for $300 plus the promos. So I guess that was like his way of saying I'm making good on this.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to see, and especially Rudy said this was the first time in 7 years that he felt bad about the price he sold something at, which is very fascinating to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy though, the huge shift from what happened with Monarch. I think it's the kind of the Fab 1.5 era was really the problematic thing that caused this huge shockwave of reduction in value and distrust in the product.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it is just that, Card Shop Live is capable of selling or is like just selling boxes and cards at so much cheaper than anybody else, because they get this print run data based on like the amount they're ordering.
Yeah.
And then you get into these weird, and I've seen this be kind of controversial. So basically, they do these things where they bundle boxes together, where you can get like one of each set for $400 or whatever.
I saw that. I did not like that.
Well, and what sucks is the way they do the accounting for it, right? Is basically like one or two of those boxes are essentially free add-ins. So that way they're not breaking map on the boxes that still have map.
Yeah.
The ones that have rolled out, and that's how they stay within it. And I see like I don't know, like so many stores can't compete with that. And I mean, obviously that's just, that's just how capitalism works. Like, if you can buy a larger quantity, you can sell at a lower price because you're making it back in the margins. But the idea being that they have privileged information to do this on top of like LSS being so strict with every other game store that's significantly smaller. Mm-hmm. I feel like Card Shop Live is leaving a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths right now.
The problem is that Card Shop Live is not the company that has an agreement and a partnership with LSS. Channel Fireball is the company that does.
Oh, so they're just using it as like their online shell company?
Yes.
It's not like a DBA.
I mean, they've totally admitted that it is, but like, they're like, we are what is it? Powered by Channel Fireball, right?
Interesting. Oh yeah, because they're technically a marketplace.
Right. So like you and me could open up, like we don't have to have an LSS distributor or whatever license. We could open up a TCG player store and start selling everything below map. All our box, if we had physical boxes to sell, we could sell them all below map and sell promos.
We're not going through a distributor,
right?
Okay.
And we're not, but we're also not partnered with LSS, and we're not receiving these things from them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they can't really hurt us because we're not. We're a company that's not affiliated with them. No, Channel Fireball went and sold themselves directly those products at that price. They couldn't do it. So they actually have ads running for another game, My Hero Academia Universes fighting system, right? They have the new product coming out for that game on Channel Fireball for like over $100. But of course, Card Shop Live has it for $88 before Street Date.
Interesting. Well, that's not great.
So that's why they've been able to go under map for all the Flesh and Blood stuff.
Yeah.
But what I don't like, additionally, not just that pricing thing where they give you 2 boxes free, that whole thing is problematic because we all know that the distribution of like the cases, if we've opened a box from a case and you get a legendary, the chances that the other two have legendaries are much slimmer. So you can just open up cases, right? Get for each individual case, open boxes till you hit a legendary, put the rest in a pile. Then you sell the pile in this cool kit, right? For some price, right? They did the same thing for booster packs, right? They're like $54.99 gets you a box worth of every booster pack in the game. You get like, I don't know, 4 from each set. I think it's the number. It's a 4, 6. Yeah.
Well, especially you can like weigh out cold foils too with first edition, which isn't great.
Right. So like they ended up doing what it was like the unlimited for the first 4 products, and then first edition Tales, first edition Everfest, all $54.99. And they could just open a box and weigh out all the packs, grab all the good stuff, and then just put all the leftover packs or open packs. They could just do it opening packs. They don't have to weigh them. Open packs until you get a good one, right? Your legendary or your foil equipment, right? And then just set all the packs aside and then move on to the next box. Keep doing this till you amass like some insane amount of packs, and then you just do this. Then you do this deal. So you got to sell off all the shaft for $54.99.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
What's crazy too is like, even, I mean, like weighing all the packs sounds like crazy busy work, but you can actually do it in 5 measurements, which is nuts. Like you weigh out the 4 stacks of 6, you see which stack is the heaviest. Then you weigh out 2 stacks of 3, you see which one's the heaviest. And then you only need to weigh 3 booster packs. So like within 6 quick measurements, you can quickly determine where cold foils are. And so if they're doing this, like you really only need 2 employees doing this, and you can filter through all your booster packs incredibly quickly. And I don't like, obviously they're probably not doing this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like they did that for a limited amount of time, but there does come with like not buying from your LGS has like downsides with this game for that exact reason. I've never pulled a legendary out of a box that I haven't bought at an LGS. I mean, that's a very small sample size. Like I'm sure plenty of people have, but that's just, I don't know. It's interesting, right? Like there's too much room for error, I guess.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. So it doesn't sit well with me. I don't know what you do to fix it. I think it's just going to be part of the game until the game gets large enough where there's multiple distributors competing for this large of a share. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's problematic in a lot of ways, but it's also been good for some people, you know. And there's a lot of people who just couldn't afford or didn't want to spend too much money or wanted to save a little bit of money. But I say to them as well, you know, or rather, I'm sorry, the more likely case is that some people don't have LGSs in their area to buy from, right?
Yeah.
So they get ads on their Facebook for Hotshot Live, and they're like, oh, what a great deal, right? They're giving away free boxes, giving away free, gradings of cards. They're doing a lot of stuff. So it's kind of like, well, how can I say no? You know, and I kind of don't blame them, but at the same time, like, you know, if I can afford to make an effort to spend an extra $10 on a product or $15 on a product at my LGS, I will. You know,
yeah.
Now
Absolutely.
that we know all this stuff about Card Shop Live.
Well, you also like, I don't want to turn into like a shill or whatever, but you also see this argument for Rudy's Patreon. Like, even though it's expensive and you're paying MSRP for everything, you're getting like sealed cases from somebody whose like social reputation hinges on not messing with them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you get the idea of like a trusted seller. And I guess that's where a lot of people who buy cases, why they go through Alpha Investments instead of other places, which I guess this adds to why Rudy would be in a position where he would like, I'm going to take an L on this because I need to maintain a reputation as a trusted seller, which is interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only problem with that is that his Patreon is limited and it rarely ever opens.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, like, I mean, if it was always open, everyone would definitely be on it because he sells things at like losses almost.
Yeah, it's like Costco.
Yeah, he's the Costco
trading cards.
He's the Costco TCGs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, that's great.
Oh man. So, all that said, Fab 2.0, as we're recording this, we got some weird, blurry spoilers for a little dual decks action. What are the classic battles? I'm going to call them dual decks. I've been playing Magic the Gathering for 15 years or whatever. I'm going to call them dual decks, even though Magic doesn't have dual decks anymore. Somebody needs to have dual decks, and maybe I'm inventing them. But yeah, dual decks. We got some spoilers for Dory versus Rhino. They're incredibly blurry. None of them are all that exciting except for one, and it's the blurriest of all of them. But Matt, what do you think?
I think we're looking at a new kind of bobble.
Yeah, maybe less cracked, but more cracked in the way the kids are saying it.
Cracked. Yeah, it is. It appears. So essentially, what happened is that a Kiwi news, I guess, distributor or distributor, what a word to associate with the news. A Kiwi news site, right? What was it called?
I think it's just called Stuff.
Stuff, yeah. They did it's called Stuff. Stuff did a quick article on Flesh and Blood and interviewed James White. And in the interview, it's a video interview, 30 seconds, and it's like a minute maybe. And in the video, he's playing across the interviewer, James White, with
he stomped him.
Probably with the dual decks essentially. And we could make out some certain cards because it was a little blurry, you know, with the high focus camera and stuff. But there are some cards that were made out from the video. We saw Dawnblade Resplendent, but it was very hard to read because it was across the table. You know, the brute player had come to fight and like some wrecking romps in their hand. But you could see that there's a Dawnblade Resplendent with what looks like 3 power, 1 cost attack, and a triggered ability with a +1 counter symbol. So we don't know what it does exactly. Definitely different because Dawnblade Original has 2 lines of text. This one only has 1, which should be interesting. But the other cards we've seen was a Brute Attack Wrecking Ball, which it seems so bad. But it's a 3 cost, no block, red pitch, 6 attack, and draw a card, discard a random card, and then if you discard a power 6 or greater, it gains Intimidate.
Yeah.
So the 3 cost is pretty high. Doesn't seem that great. But however, pretty good for new players, I think.
Well, we did find out that this new Rhinar is just new art. It is the old young Rhinar.
Really?
You can see in 1 or 2 frames that it's just Rhinar in the title. He still has the discard 6 Intimidate ability. But what's interesting is I guess like Intimidate twice seems pretty good in a dual decks scenario, you know? With like low power level.
That's true.
Because it gains Intimidate. When you discard it, it gets Intimidate. So almost any time that's being triggered, it's a Intimidate twice, you know?
Yeah. No, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. So I hadn't considered that either until I realized. And then we saw the new Brute Weapon, which is just a 4 power, 2 cost attack. I think it's called Bone Crusher.
Really? I didn't see that. I must have missed it.
It was really unnotable because it's just like a vanilla weapon just sitting next to like old Rhinar. But the new Crack Bobble's interesting. If it is a Crack Bobble, there's no cost in the upper right-hand corner. There is a defense value in the lower right-hand corner. It appears to be a blue pitch. So maybe it's just a test card because I feel like James White's been too nice and I'd like to see, I feel like it's really on brand for him just to like recently just like troll us with a card like that. Like he's not going to troll us with like something high powered that like influences the market, but he'd be like a blue Crack Bobble that blocks. Like that's hilarious. So maybe
that would be pretty funny. I mean, I could see them doing something like that in the future. Because I mean, I think Crack Bobble as it is very punishing. I mean, of course, that is the point, right?
Yeah.
To not have drafted correctly. But also, I mean, sometimes you just get punished and sealed. Like just opening just terrible pulls. But I don't know. I feel like there's a better way to go about, you know, adding in just these generic cards that help fill your deck up. And instead of drawing cards that don't block, you draw cards that actually do block at the very least. You know, maybe pitching for blue's a bit much. Pitching for yellow's a fine in between spot. But I would rather Cracked Bobbles pitch for yellow and block for 2. I mean, at least block for 1 something.
I don't know. So I had an idea, right? Because I was thinking about Cracked Bobbles a lot this week because I was sorting a large pile of them. And so I don't know. I had this idea of like, it'd be kind of interesting. And it was weird because immediately when I had the idea, I felt like it was terrible and unbalanced. But then like, as I thought about it more, I was like, oh, it's actually balanced really well. What if they were to print a merchant and the ability, he was like like a trinket collector, right? And his thing was whenever you pitch a bobble to pay a cost, you draw a card. And originally I was like, that's insane card advantage. But then I was like, wait, you have to have a reasonable amount of bobbles in your deck versus like actual spells because you need to be able to pay costs. I don't know. It'd be interesting for them to give it a PvE use.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, though, that you would need to have something to play to pitch the bobble, though.
Yeah, right? It nerfs it right out of the bat. That's why I think it's perfect.
What if it's a Fabled? Nah, Unsleeved Fabled. Oh God. Oh, I mean,
man.
Fabled gems pitch for blue. I mean,
Yeah,
didn't
right.
look foil to me though.
Yeah, it didn't look. None of those cards look foil to me. I'm sure the Rhino was cold foil, but it's hard to say. With everything was like, I'm sure they did it on purpose with everything being out of focus when they did this news article, for stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It was pretty interesting to look through, and we see a couple cards that are like within the, I don't know. I'm pretty excited for this set, and I'm hoping that there's not like a chase card in there where you need to buy 3 of them. I think they're going to actively avoid doing that.
Yeah,
hopefully.
it seems to be powered that way. It seems to be powered in such a way that no one's not really going to want to play with these cards. I mean, I don't know. It could just one day be good, but I don't see these cards pushing the meta at all in any way.
Yeah, right. I mean, maybe the equipment will be cool. So
that's one thing we're hopefully looking forward to. But in terms of equipment as well, something else came up in terms of spoilers. So the prizes for Pro Tour Lille, apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong.
Yeah, I have no idea.
That was just announced, Pro Tour Lille. I'm going to go with that. It sounds super fancy. Crown of Providence gold foil and a PTI is listed as the prize for the champion of that tournament, along with 7,000 USD. What's a Crown of Providence?
Yeah, right. I hope it's a real crown. I'm sure it'll be. I'm sure it's a legendary from Uprising. Like, it has to be, right?
Yeah, it sounds like they always do generic gold foils for pricing of the very largest tournaments they have. So it would make sense that this is the generic from Uprising, the legendary generic.
Yeah. Well, so have they announced what the is it a tunic for Pro Tour New Jersey first place, or is the tunic officially retired?
Tunic. The very last tunic, correct. It is.
So this crown must be fire, right? Like, because they knew the tunic was just like one of the best cards they ever printed, and maybe it's also generic if they're going to be putting it in this scenario.
I'm hoping it is, considering the skull cap and the tunic have both been gold foil prizes.
I think immediately, like, ninjas don't wear crowns. Like, that's intrinsic to being a ninja. I think that's a thing. So it has to be an illusionist or a wizard card if it is class based. But I don't think it is. I wonder, and that's interesting too. Like, if they're printing another legendary generic headpiece to immediately step up and compete with Skullcap, like, what? Better be cool.
Yeah, I don't know. It's odd because the last time we had one printed brand new was Arcane Rising.
Yeah. It's been
2 sets
a little over 2 years.
Talent focused sets, so they've had to flesh out the talents in each of the sets and make sure they each had a legendary to appropriately represent them. Shadow, Light each have an equipment. Warrior and what was it? It was Warrior and Illusionist each have their legendary equipment, and then there was the legendary specializations for the Shadow Heroes, right? And then in Aria, we had one for each element, and then one for each class got a legendary. So I think the pattern's always going to be 6 legendaries per set. And that's what we're looking at again once more with Uprising. So what do we have in Uprising? We have a wizard, we have a ninja, an illusionist, that's 3, okay. Then we have Draconic and Ice, that's 2.
Yeah.
So I think we finally are coming back to a generic legendary. Unless, of course, as people think their conspiracy theories may come true, is that there's a 4th hero that we don't know about, which I doubt. But it could be cool.
It's a box topper. It's interesting too, because I guess this isn't actually, so this is for the accompanying calling and not the Pro Tour, which is interesting.
Is it? Really? I didn't pay attention. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's that big of a difference because traditionally callings have also had either the skull cap or the tunic as a prize.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's going to be cool. You know what's also interesting, right? Is I know it's a gold cold foil, but it'd be cool if it's a gold cold foil of a Marvel extended art. So it's just like they're going deep down the rabbit hole of coolness, making it super unusual.
That'd be so sick.
Right? Oh, right on. I'm excited for that. So let's see. I think we had 2 other events in the world of Flesh and Blood this week.
Yes.
The first is Judge Hub has been launched. And man, have I gotten a lot of emails because of their weird notification settings. However, it's really good for all their judge stuff to now be conglomerated in one area when it was previously like on a very loose Discord.
Yeah. I wasn't even in the Discord prior.
Yeah. Yeah, you used to like, there was the Discord and then you would go and you would find, there was like this little thing on the side where it was like people were looking for event staffing and then you would click on it and then you would have to like scroll for a while and see if anybody near you was like trying to staff anything for judges. And then you would send in like a Google Forms application. And now it's all like, now just like my profile on there is like my application. You know, it's got every event I've ever judged, like my level, everything. Because I am Flesh and Blood judge. I don't think I brought that up at any point. I know I brought up being a Magic judge like 1,000 times.
Yeah, I think we have brought up the fact that you were a Flesh and Blood judge quite a few times.
Well, now we brought it up again. And we're going to bring it up a third time because I'm now not the only Flesh and Blood judge here.
Woo! Level 0. Right. Let's go.
Matt,
and then next
Matt
week.
is now tournament organizer, level 0 Fab judge.
Let's go.
Only a step away from entering the grand halls of the roughly 90 people that are judges in North America.
Got to be within the first 100. Let's go.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, next week I think I'm gonna look at the material this week, and next week hopefully we'll get that done. Maybe by next episode, we'll see.
Yeah,
Level
right.
1 judge.
Yeah, the test was weird as somebody who's a Magic judge taking the fat. It was very different. I don't know how else to describe it without giving too much away, but it was not what I expected.
Fair.
I felt like I was taking the bar more than I was like a test.
I like that. Yeah, I hear that it's a very scenario based test.
Yeah,
where there are like multiple correct answers.
Yeah, you got to figure out what's the most correct,
or rather, the most correct answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool to have it like that, right? So I feel like you can explain this blunder that happened this week a little bit better than I can with the ELO, because I honestly wasn't paying any attention to the ELO system. I was always like, oh, I went to 2 armories this week and got 6 XP. Let's go, top 1,000. So yeah, the ELO system broke, huh?
Yeah, they announced with Fab 2.0 that they were going to include Road to Nationals as part of their rated tournaments. And I don't know if there was anything else that they included with that. I think it was just Road to Nationals that they were going to create as rated. So they decided to retroactively apply ELO based on performance from every player's prior Road to Nationals, right? So what ended up happening is that the algorithm or their formula took a player's current ELO in history and applied the prior Road to National ELO as though it just happened, which would end up lowering someone's ELO significantly if they performed really well but had a rough start in the early days playing the game, and they are now really strong, good players. But if you go back and pull their records and they were, going 3-4, 2-5 or whatever at a 7-round event, it's not going to look that great when you apply that ELO when they're normally doing a lot better. So that was fixed. Luckily, that wasn't too big of they didn't last too long. People were complaining a lot. and it was not intentional. It was a bug or some sort of issue when they were coding, and it's been resolved. So everyone's had their elo applied correctly, and everything's back to normal, it seems.
Yeah.
Or not normal, but the correct number, because now we have the elo from the new rated event applied. So some people should be happy with this and see their elo climb a little bit, but I'm sure it's not going to please everyone.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe if you had a rough start before you put it together, you're still going to take a loss, although probably not as heavily as you would have with the weird weighted system they were trying to put in.
Right. Which is weird because it hasn't updated my statistics here on my profile at all, even though they went back and adjusted that. Because I know they made the Road to Nationals rated, I believed, unless unless that was something they haven't fixed yet, and all they have done was rolled it back. But at the very least, they did roll back that thing they had changed. So.
Oh, interesting. All right. Well, I'm glad they fixed it. I'm
sorry. There's something that we did gloss over, and I thought it would be important to talk about. And that was the fact that History Pack 1 did not include every card under the sun that would be printed from Welcome the Wraith to Crucible of War.
Yeah. I also completely forgot about this, and I think like the most notable one, like I've been putting a Runeblade deck together because I can't be a Prism main forever. Sometimes you just got to let it go, and I don't have any Rattlebones, and so I was waiting to pick them up until after History Pack 1 dropped because I was planning on buying a box regardless, and I wanted to see if I grabbed any, and I didn't. And what's fascinating is Rattlebones was probably the most expensive card that wasn't included in the reprints, but there's some other notable ones. It's kind of interesting. I don't know how they pick and chose these.
Yeah, it was odd because they also merged Super Rares and Majestics.
Yeah.
So for some reason, Crazy Brew is included, and you can open that. So be happy for. Oh, gross! Majestic. White bordered Crazy Brews, very, very fun. But they took out a lot of cards, some of which won't be missed, some of which will be missed. I mean, we're talking about like Gaze the Ages, which is like a wizard staple. That's not in the set. Insanely,
that is a weird one.
I mean, Remembrance, just a staple generic card overall. Rattlebones predominantly was like the glue to like insanely wide Runeblade turns, and that's a staple for those decks, and they don't have it, or they don't have it in the white border set, so you're gonna have to go and fetch a black border copy ASAP. But I don't know, even Iron Song Determination, that's a fantastic card.
I got to imagine that for them to not, they also Bonehead Barrier was not included, and I've got to imagine that those two show up in the Dory versus Rhino deck. Just because they're kind of not necessarily a unique effect for Warrior, but it's a very unique effect for Brute. And I think it'll be important for that to come up within the gameplay. So I'd imagine that's what ends up happening there.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Wouldn't bet against it.
Absolutely.
Bonehead Barrier, though, is a little bit of a weird one, though. Not sure I'd like seeing that in the deck, but it could be there.
Yeah. I don't know. It is weird, though. I wonder if at some point, though, because they've been fairly open about everything, I wonder if at some point they'll explain to us why they left out certain cards. That seems like something they would do. I guess I'm just used to Wizards, just leaving me to guess stuff. So,
yeah, they kind of left us there hanging dry.
Yeah. I don't know. Weird. All right. Well, I think that about does it for episode 8. Matt, do you have any final thoughts?
Nothing out of the ordinary here. We kind of covered it up. It's been a quiet week. We kind of covered everything that we needed to.
Yeah. the calm before the storm of New Jersey.
Right. We have so much to talk about next week. We're definitely going to try to record late Sunday if possible, maybe Monday, so we can have all the tournament results in before we talk about it.
Absolutely. So I can't wait. I know everybody listening is excited, and I don't know. I hope it's awesome. I hope it's everything we ever dreamed of,
And
because this is a real make or break moment for the game, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, this Pro Tour 1, so this is going to be pretty exciting, and I really want to see all the competitors do their best. And once more, good luck to all our local players going out. And hopefully none of us get paired against each other. Fingers crossed, because I know that has happened in the past. Just randomly showing up to these callings, and there's like 400 people playing. And you're like, oh, you just got matched against the same person in your locals. Nice. That's not fun. So hopefully we can avoid that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see y'all after the Pro Tour.
See ya.